Ireland who knew much more about managing football teams than I did. When it comes to music, I can spoof with the best.
Your sporting career is the best time you'll have, and you have to hang on to it for as long as you like, because everything else is pretty crappy.
And this is not lies. Stephen Rothschild has never spoken to Jimmy McGuinness in his life.
You're very welcome along to our Saturday panel. I'm delighted to be joined in studio by three former inter-county players, all of whom decided to hang up their boots over the course of the winter. Former Mayo footballer Alan Dillon, former Kildare footballer Emmet Bolton, and former Longford footballer Brian Kavanagh. You can get in touch as always. 53106 is the text number. At Off the Ball on Twitter. We're live on Periscope. You can get us on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Off the Ball, or on YouTube. Just leave a comment below if you have any questions for the lads. So thanks a lot for coming in. I was wondering, would you rather have been somewhere else? But all three of you in unison were like, nah, not this weekend.
No, not this weekend.
The regrets might start later in the summer when you've got those big days in Croke Park that you could be missing out on. But right now, still in January, playing league, no weird fun for anybody, is it?
Absolutely not. I think the conditions over the last couple of weeks, pitches, wet balls. I think the safety of having the couch and the telly and the remote control is very much part and parcel of the next couple of weeks. But I'm looking forward to getting back to the club. I suppose I haven't been around the place in the last number of years, and I suppose there's a lot of young eager Ballintubber footballers coming through. So excited about the next couple of weeks. We've announced a new manager. So
who's that?
He's Kevin Johnson from Galway. So it's going to be a fresh start there, and hopefully we can, I suppose, push on this year.
Brian, you're the baby of this panel. You're still only 31. Yeah. Why did you make the decision to step away?
Well, I suppose I started early as well. I was 18, playing against Dublin in Croke Park, and I suppose when I moved up to Dublin as well with Kilmacud, the club seasons were just rolling into the county seasons, and it just progressed into just one giant season there for about 4 years when the club was going well. And I just had to look at my groins there last year, and the surgeon he basically said, your groins are fixable, but I'm not a hip surgeon, but there's very little cartilage left in your hip, so you might need to reevaluate where you're going. So I decided to step away from the county and just focus on the club. We
did a panel before Christmas where we ended up focusing almost totally on hip injuries among inter-county players, and of the 4 players who were in the studio, I think all 4 of them had serious issues with their hips and had operations already. Just how serious is it for you? Are you looking already when you're 50, 55 that you might be looking at a hip replacement?
Well, the general consensus was that if I kept going with the county for the next 2 or 3 years, I'd be replacing it before I was 40. So I decided that there's more to life to football, and be able to enjoy your post-career life as well is very important. So I decided just to step back the commitment.
Have you noticed a big change already in these 2-3 months since you made the decision?
Oh, hugely. You've an extra 30-40 hours a week to yourself where you can plan further than 4 days ahead. It's only when you step back, and we were talking about it earlier, the commitment that's involved. And when you stopped doing it, I just couldn't really get over that I was doing it. Then when you look back and trying to beat the M50 traffic 4 days a week, and coming back up at 1:30 in the morning, and then up for work the next morning as well. It is a huge commitment, but there's nobody holding a gun to your head either. We enjoy it, and we love it to bits, and that's the main reason we do it.
Emmet, for you at 32, stepping away from a Kildare team who looked to be on a very good trajectory once again under Cian O'Neill, what was your thinking around it?
Yeah, I suppose it was a very, very tough decision. I had a very bad year last year in terms of I burst my appendix at Christmas. I was missing for the whole of January, February, March, so I found it hard to get back into the team while I was doing rehab and then get back from that. And a couple of guys that got in ahead of me in league games and that type of thing. So I felt I was going okay at training, but I just think form probably wasn't as good as what it should have been, which was disappointing. When you're trying to hold high standards and that type of thing, and I suppose when you're so used to being playing over the last 10, 11 years to see someone else starting ahead of you and you're sitting on the bench, it's tough. So look, I think the writing was on the wall. I played the last league game against Galway, probably didn't play as great as I should, was taken off after about 55 minutes. Came on against Laois and Meath and Dublin, and then didn't get any game time against Armagh. When I felt that I could have contributed something, I just felt that Cian is looking at youth. I think the average age demographic of the team last year was 24, 25 years of age, and Barry and McCallaghan, there wasn't really room for any more the elder guys. And I think just I said rather than sitting on the bench for a year and getting frustrated and getting taken and getting bitter with the whole thing, I just said, look, I'll walk away. I'm only 32, and as Alan said, look, I'm looking forward to going back playing with the club now, rather than going back at 34, 35 when you're struggling with injuries and that type of thing. I'm going back at a good age. I'm relatively injury free and looking forward to having a good league with them. You're playing 13, 14 league games with them every weekend, so I probably wouldn't have got as much game time this year at all. I definitely wouldn't have started, and I would have probably struggled to get any game time, so I just said, look.
Yeah, how did that conversation go with Cian O'Neill? Because I would expect from his point of view, as you say, that the age group and the demographic there now is getting younger, and he needs to do that to help Kildare progress over the coming years, but also you do need a few wise old heads around as well.
Yeah, I actually didn't have it with him. I had it with Ronan Sweeney. Would have played with Rolly for guts of 10, 11 years, and he's obviously been involved in the coaching capacity over the last year or two. And to be fair to him, he said to me, he said, look, if someone had told me going into the start of the year, my last year, that I wasn't going to be playing, and I probably wasn't going to be getting as much game time, he would have called it a day, because he felt that he had got bitter and taken and frustrated. So he said, look, rather than having that hanging over you over the course of a year, and when you're training as hard as you can, and every player feels like they should be playing anyway. It's very hard to sit on a bench and look at a guy you think you should be playing ahead of against. So I just said, look, call it a day and go back to the club.
We probably have 3 guys in the studio from 3 different counties at 3 different levels right now. Like Alan, you're stepping away from a team that is starting this year still with genuine aspirations of winning an All-Ireland title, probably one of the only 3 or 4 counties. Even at 35, was there still a part of you that thought, and there must be, I haven't played in 6 All-Ireland finals, to think, well, maybe this is the year, maybe I do, even if it is a bit part, I just hang on for one more year?
Yeah, absolutely, and it does cross your mind when you have them big days in Croke Park. And I suppose this year, of all the years, when we sat in preparation for the All-Ireland final, in the back of my mind, I always thought that this is it. And I suppose you're sitting beside your teammates who have sweated, and I suppose spilled blood for you, and you get the roar of the 82,000 people running out on that big day, and you appreciate where you are. And unfortunately I didn't have that fairy tale ending, and I suppose that was really, really tough. And it did hit me hard, I suppose, when I actually went down and talked to my parents, talked to my wife about it, let them know. Once I let them know, then I became a bit easier. Got the county board, PRO, and the treasurers, and once it was made public, I was taken back by the amount of I suppose messages and goodwill, and it's something that I suppose when you start out on, you never think that it's going to end at some stage, and once you step off the stage, you're known then as a former player, and it takes a bit of getting used to it, but I suppose just similar to what Emmet has said, you think you're playing at a high standard, and there's a younger bunch of lads coming through as well, like who have that extra bit of pace and power, and I suppose that's the way the game has gone now over the last number of years. And while it's tough, it's I suppose, listen, you got to look back on it and with some sort of I suppose enjoyment as well.
You'd sort of seen it all over the course of the 12, 13 years, like scoring a goal 4 minutes into your first ever appearance in an All-Ireland final, to the pain of those defeats in 04 and 06, and some probably real low points then as you headed towards 09, 010, until James Horan comes back and revitalises the whole thing. You've that brilliant almost cameo, you might call it, against Tyrone a couple of years ago, but by and large it's those substitute appearances over the last couple of seasons under Stephen Rochford. Did you still enjoy those last few years of intercounty football, or is that sort of want to be part of the starting 15, was that always as strong, or were you able to cope with sort of moving into a different role within the team?
Yeah, I suppose, listen, you gotta adapt, from being automatic starter, from captaining the team. I suppose it's the transition, it's the life cycle you got to go through, and I really enjoyed the intensity of being around the lads, the competitiveness within the environment, and I suppose that drives any intercounty footballer.
Did you feel, Tommy Walsh was talking about this last year, about those last couple of years he had with Kilkenny, and he was a little bit younger, but he had been falling off the starting 15, which seems incredible to say. Even Tommy Walsh is falling off at Kilkenny starting 15. He spoke about almost feeling as if he owed it to the younger players in the Kilkenny squad to hang on and to give it absolutely everything in training. And all right, he might only get the odd minute here or there in games, but in training that he was going to keep it at such a high level. He was going to push them every step of the way. Did you feel that you sort of owed something, that you wanted to be there and pushing these younger guys to get to a level?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, you cannot be one of them, you know, energy drainers within the dressing room, and you know, I suppose feeling sorry for yourself. You got to inspire and motivate these lads to I suppose carry that, you know, torch on throughout their careers. And I always remember when I first joined the Mayo panel, you know, there was a great support group there, you know, the likes of David Heaney, James Nallen, I know Liam McHale, you know, was around the setup, and you know, I suppose these guys really made me feel part of it, and I wanted to pass on that to the younger generation within Mayo. And there's a fantastic bunch of young fellas coming through, and you know, when James Horan came in 2011, you know, he integrated them guys in, and there was, I suppose, the older group, and then there was the younger group, and I suppose we haven't looked back since then. So you know, I owed it to myself, I owed it to the team, you know, even this season, to give it my all and ensure that, you know, we had one final push to get us across the line.
Knowing then going into this year's All-Ireland final that was probably going to be it for you, was the whole day a different experience?
Yeah, listen, you know, you suppose you're entrenched in the game, you know, the ebb and flow, and you're hoping that you can get on and make a contribution. And I suppose, you know, it was bitterly disappointing, you know, for the team that, you know, we couldn't actually, you know, deliver on the day. And I suppose personally, you know, not even, I suppose, getting a slice of the action as well. And you know, after that, you know, you just got to get back to your club. We went on a good run. We got to the county final, and I suppose the preceding weeks, then, you know, the decision was made. So
yeah, David Brady was talking about, say, I think it was 06, and almost the feeling of humiliation and shame after that game, going back to Castlebar, to the homecoming, and really not wanting to be there. It seems very different now. Defeat is defeat, but having to go back to Castlebar on the Monday night and knowing that the end was near, like those sort of 24 hours, 48 hours when you're with that group probably for the last time, what was that like?
Yeah, like, I suppose it was strange, you know, it was probably a bit emotional, but you know, I suppose going back to the supporters, you know, who've shown unbelievable passion and support over the last number of years, I think it was, you know, it was up to us to ensure that, you know, these guys supported us year in, year out, that we were reflective of how grateful we are to them. And yeah, like, it was a different feeling, you know, spent 2 or 3 days together, and I suppose once you get out of that bubble, then, you know, everyone goes their own way, and we have our lives all, you know, with our clubs and our family, and it's a completely different environment compared to when you're in the WhatsApp groups or the.
You all gone from the WhatsApp groups?
Well gone, yeah.
Well gone.
Yeah, all removed. Yeah,
all removed.
So you know, you're on the outside, and you know, I suppose, listen, we start as supporters, we finish as supporters, and I suppose that's the continuation over the next couple of weeks and months.
How do you deal with the loss of 6 All-Ireland finals?
Yeah, with regret. Yeah, it's tough. I suppose, listen, there's many other Mayo men that went through this tournament, and it is difficult. You know,
is it the sort of thing when you're going to bed at night that it still comes into your head? And
no, it's not. It's not.
What
raw.
might have been in this game, or
yeah, it's not raw, but it's still, you know, a sense of regret in some instances where we, you know, didn't play to our best of our ability when we needed to. I suppose, listen, you know, it's just the way it is. I suppose we can't change it now at this stage, and you know, while this group of lads are getting closer, hopefully, you know, they can bridge that gap.
The question you're going to be asked a lot, I'd imagine, over the next year is, like, how do you feel if Mayo go and do it this year? And I was reading an interesting interview with Tony O'Gregan this morning, and he was very honest about it. Now, it was different in that he still very much wanted to be part of the Galway setup and had been dropped out of it by Anthony Cunningham. You've gone of your own volition, and he was very honest in saying 2015 that he was kind of torn in terms of whether he wanted Galway to go and win this. Last year he felt very different. He very much went as a supporter, was really behind the team. Part of you, and it'd be totally understandable, must be looking thinking, I wish it was me.
Yeah, of course, you know, it's everyone's dream to actually walk up them steps, but I suppose being part of that group, you know, they're a special bunch of lads. You know, I'd be the first to congratulate them, and as a Mayo person, I don't think I'd be any more, you know, happier for the lads. And I suppose it'd be such a release of, you know, energy for everyone just to get across the line. So I think the whole country would just like Mayo to get it done at this stage, you know. And
is there a release of energy stepping away from the inter-county scene? Like, you talk about the brilliance of the Mayo supporters, and we'll see it probably tomorrow in Clonus again, just the sheer volume that will make that journey. Is there a release of not being in that bubble of where it is? Every time you walk down the street, people want to find out what's going on within the camp?
Yes, there is. You know, I suppose once you step off the stage, you're outside the bubble, and there's a lot more to life than, you know, thinking about your next gym session, your recovery, physio, and you know, when you're in that bubble, you know, it's everything is surrounded, your performance and preparation. You know, your life is dictated daily, and as Brian says, you know, you have a 4-day schedule to work to, and there's so much more that now I'm looking forward to doing. It's an exciting time, you know, and new chapters ahead.
Is there a vacuum then? Or is it too early to know?
I think it's too early to know. I mean, I retired. I can't remember when I retired. I think it was near around mid-November, and I went training for a marathon straight away, and I joined the gym straight away, and I was doing a bit with the club, so I didn't really have time to fully, you know, sitting there for a week, you know, where you're doing nothing on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, that's not normal now.
No. What am I doing? What am I doing here? So, you know, it's for me, I just threw myself into something else straight away, whereas, you know, I haven't had the experience of just sitting down for a week, or even over the course of, since you have retired, and haven't done nothing, and saying, what am I going to fill my time here with?
What are you working at?
Sales rep.
Right.
Sales rep. So I'm busy in that regard as well. You know, you're working from 8 to 5:30, 6 o'clock, and then you come home, and probably, you know, I've gone to the gym most nights, and you're back doing a little bit with the club as well. So your nights are filled as well. You know, and as Brian says, you don't have your 4-day plan where you're working to that structure. There's a bit more freedom in your routine. Of a Tuesday night, you might come home from work and say, nah, don't feel like going to the gym tonight. Watch a bit of telly. You know, it's great to have that freedom and that bit of relaxation there, where you can do what you want now. I know you're back and you're structured in terms of maybe 2 or 3 days a week with your club at this period of the year, but, you know, on the other nights, it's great to have that bit of freedom. Do
you think if Kildare, Longford were competing for All-Ireland, you would have stepped away? Like, you're 2-3 years younger than the current footballer of the year.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to it, because it's tough. I suppose, you know, from my point of view, I felt like I wasn't going to be getting game time. I felt like I wasn't going to be even starting or coming on. So I felt the time was right to walk away. I gave it everything I had for 11 years, and, you know, thought I left the jersey in a better place for whoever was coming up after me. So, you know, you got to let these younger guys come up and express themselves. And, you know, as Alan said, the way the game has gone, these guys are more powerful, they're quicker, they're faster. And I felt like I was just, not that you were getting in the way, but, you know, you have to have a little bit of experience in there and try and drive standards and leadership and that type of thing. But, you know, there's plenty of guys there that are 24, 25, 26 years of age with Clare that have won Leinster's, won under 21s and minors. You know, they're more than capable. They've won probably 3 or 4 times what I've ever won with Kildare. So, you know, it's about these guys progressing now over the next couple of years, and seeing how they go from there.
Yeah, I suppose all our counties, we've relative aims at the beginning of the year as well, and like our aim would be to try and win a Leinster title. We wouldn't be even thinking about All-Irelands, and if I felt there was a chance of a Leinster title, never mind an All-Ireland, I don't know if that would have changed my decision at all. Like, you have to look after your health, number one, and if I felt that I was going to have detrimental health if I stayed on for an extra year or two, the best decision was to walk away. Like, what kept me going there and training with Longford was the panel of players, the friends. There was a group of 9 of us. I think we all played under 21 together, and I think I was the second last to go now. And sometimes as well, I don't know if the boys agree, but a lot of it is in the fun and training, because you're spending so much time around each other as well every week. If you're not having fun while you're working hard, it can become a chore, especially if the results aren't going your way, you know. So
yeah, if you're in the dressing room and people are talking every night about sacrifice and why are we doing this, you're not really going to enjoy it too much. No, you're not. But it's so enjoyable, and like, even days, remember we beat Mayo in 2010. It was a great day for football. Had to get that one in. But the wake up call Mayo needed.
We kick-started the revival. But no, it's days like that you look forward to. And I know the first round of the league is this weekend, but like Meath are coming to Pearse Park this year in the championship, and I've always admired Meath growing up. Trevor Giles, Graham Garrity, these boys in such a traditional county, and it'd be great to be part of a winning Longford team against them. And that's the sacrifices you make that when you retire, you know. But I know the boys have lots to thank for that.
Do you feel that over the last decade it has changed massively in terms of what players in Longford, Kildare, and probably every county outside of Dublin in Leinster kind of aspire to? Like, you came into a Kildare side, say, that in the previous 10 years had got to All-Ireland finals, that had won Leinster titles. You got to what, 2 Leinster finals, was it? 2, yeah. Over the course of a decade, that suddenly, rather than 19, 20-year-olds in Kildare thinking, oh, maybe we could go and win an All-Ireland title, we'll certainly be getting to Leinster finals on a semi-regular basis, that actually now they're looking at it thinking, what's the most we can actually think about achieving?
Yeah, like when I came in 2007, and on the back end of, I think it was 2003 was the last time Kildare got to a Leinster final and got murdered by Laois that day. I think it was over 10 points anyway, as far as if I can remember. And then, at that stage, it was trying to win every game in the championship. Basically, was what it was, and progress as far as you can, hold your own in the league. And then obviously when Kieran came in the following year, he put steps in place. He put foundations there for us to try and go and compete. And at that stage, obviously we were trying to win Leinster titles and get to a quarter final and progress from there, and everything obviously after that was a bonus. And I think in 9, 10, 11 especially, at the start of the year you were looking to win a Leinster final and you were looking to win an All-Ireland final. So during his period there, I think when you had the likes of Johnny Doyle and Dermot Early and lads like that, they were just completely driving standards. The whole thing was player driven. We were aspiring to win Leinsters and All-Irelands, but then the age demographic and just players had retired, and at that stage, then after that and coming up to this point this year and over the last couple of years, it was just trying to win a Leinster final. We probably struggled over maybe the last 10-11 years to even get to a Leinster final bar last year. I think the players that we had on show over maybe the last 5 or 6 years, I think we were better than what we were. I think we were very unfortunate not to get to more Leinster finals and compete in them and to probably progress as far as we could. I think in 2010 we were very lucky in an All-Ireland semi-final. A square ball and a couple of decisions went against us. I think if we got into an All-Ireland final that year against Cork, I think we would have bet them. So it was a bit of luck as well. But it's for teams like Kildare, and I think the supporters are really, really good. They're really good. They follow you, hail, rain or snow. But I think if Kildare beat Dublin in the first round and with a Byrne Cup, the expectation is huge. They're going to win an All-Ireland. So I think the sooner people realise that, we have a certain bunch of players, they all have limitations, and we just take it every game as we come. I was talking to someone at the start of the year and he said, I'm sure you'll get to a Leinster final against Dublin. Like, you have to get over your first round, your second round and your semi-final as well. So I think once expectations kind of dampen down in Kildare a bit, and there won't be as much pressure on the guys, we can progress, because there's a really, really good bunch of lads there. I think ability wise, over the 10 years that I was there, it's probably the best panel that I was ever involved in. You've 3 or 4 professionals. You had Kevin Feely, who was a professional soccer player. You had Paddy Brophy, Paul Cribben and Daniel Flynn, who were professional AFL players. So it's going to take these guys maybe another year, or if not this year, just to get themselves settled again and to try and progress and bring all the guys that are with them. He's a couple of guys that are under 20 in at the panel at the minute, and these guys are going to take time. They need time to settle. But again, there's guys there that are there the last 5 or 6 years that need to man up now at this stage. I think the abilities in Kildare, I just think mentally we need a little bit more work. You showed it against Armagh last year that physically and mentally we were found out, and that's where the teams like Mayo and Dublin and Kerry separate themselves from the chasing pack. Just
is that mentally something you've seen Cian O'Neill already very aware of?
Yeah. From reports, I think they would have had an extremely hard pre-season, these type of really tough hard runs where you're lining up and you have to go again and you have to go again, you go again physically.
Does that still happen? Does that need to happen?
We have the Curragh on our doorstep. For us, I think it needs to happen. I think only a sports psychologist I wouldn't be too. It can only get you so far. I think individually you have to have the mentality that, you know, everything I do is for the good and is for the good of the team, and, you know, whether it's talking to a sports psychologist or, you know, just player driven or whatever it is. But I know he has fairly slogged them now over the course of pre-season out into Curragh. Just that mentally, I think, you know, I'd be a big fan of it. That, you know, you're standing on a line and you're just 30 lads and they're running and running and running. You're able to go to a dark place, you know, come the last 5-10 minutes of a championship game. I think it's important.
And then you get that bond, and actually maybe you don't need to do it next year. Maybe the bond is there.
But there's a science to football as well, and I know it has changed, but I just think mentally Kildare need a lot of work, and I know he's tried to do that at the start of the year. So how it'll progress now tonight, I don't know.
You were talking outside about the gaps in your lives then of suddenly having 30-40 hours. Do you feel a pressure now, Alan, to sort of find a new identity? Like, for the last 15 years, everybody in Mayo knows Alan Dillon, the footballer, and they stop and they want to talk to you, and you, as you say, your days, your evenings are made up, your Saturday mornings going for breakfast with the lads. Like, does all of that maybe stops? Do you now feel a pressure to go and have a second part of your life?
Not necessarily, no. I think, you know, it's part and parcel of, you know, the process when you leave the inter-county stage. You know, you go back to your club. Again, you know, I wouldn't have any, you know, I suppose, issue around being recognised or that kind of stuff around Mayo. There's opportunities now in this part of my life where, you know, my roots would have definitely been a large part of my family would have been, you know, within the political arena, and maybe that's something that I might actually move into. And I've been no secret of that to a lot of the members within Fine Gael. So I'm looking forward to that.
Are you
chapter.
running?
Yes, I'm running in the next selection convention. So that's at the end of March. So
for the general election.
For the general election, yeah. So
what's the attraction?
I suppose, you know, I've seen, you know, the likes of Enda Kenny and, you know, the work he's done throughout Mayo. I feel that, you know, the experience I've known around around the Castlebar area regards local business and community. I've been to many schools, and you know, I think the youth and the general people in Mayo, you know, need a strong representation, and I feel that, you know, I can provide that. I think that, you know, I've shown on the football field, and my commitment to Mayo over the last 15 years has been, you know, something that, you know, has given me the resilience, the passion for the people, and I'm looking forward to it.
Your life is probably going to come under even further scrutiny then in the political sphere, rather than just being down the pub on a Friday night and everyone keeping an eye out the corner to see if he's having a pint and whether they should be ringing the manager. Is this something that has been a passion for many years, that you've always had in the back of your mind? What's the family connection?
Well, my aunt Kathleen Cody and the late Liam Cody would have worked with Enda Kenny for years. My uncle Ollie Dillon would have been the chairman of the Fine Gael branch in Ballyhane, and you know, my roots would have been very much run deep within Fine Gael, and I suppose, you know, it's the next chapter. I suppose an opportunity. You know, I suppose it takes some courage and bravery to put yourself out there. I'm well aware of that, but you know, I have a deep resilience to and a determination to succeed in this. What
are the big issues in Mayo at the moment?
There's a lot, you know. I suppose you know, between, I suppose, infrastructure, community, rural affairs. There's a lot, you know, around providing facilities for, you know, education, and I suppose a lot of these stuff will come out. But I suppose
keeping people in Mayo.
Yeah, and my focus is, I suppose, bringing the youth maybe that potentially can't get a job down in Mayo from the likes of Dublin and that kind of stuff. And you know, I suppose my job now is to get to the start line, and it's going to be a very competitive selection convention, because this seat in Castlebar hasn't been available since 1954. It's been held by the Kenny family, and his father, Henry Senior, had it till 1975, and ended then from 75 to up until now. So it's it'll be keenly contested.
And his daughter isn't running in this, is she?
No, that's what Enda has said on the record. So again, you know, who knows?
I don't think there's balance constraints, is there, around local conventions where we're going to have to now get all the different candidates on to speak for 5 minutes and give their party political broadcast?
No.
Right, well, that's
Yeah.
well, very best of luck with it. I'm sure, no doubt, we'll be talking to you again over who knows when the election will be. It could literally be on our doorstep. For you, for that point, then, I don't know, any of you planning on running for high office?
No, trying to get the golf handicap down to single digits now. So running for TD, this seems like a walk in the park compared to what I have to put up. have to do. But
obviously, becoming a TD, you'll have to relocate for a good chunk of the week. Like it's a big family decision, and suddenly for a lot of players, like again 15-16 years as an inter-county player, you've been away from your family. I'm sure there were plans there, and suddenly you're into politics where again you're away from home from a long time. Like it is a huge decision.
I've a very understanding wife, again we've talked about it at length, and I suppose over the last maybe 7 or 8 weeks, we've mapped out where we want to go. I suppose the dangers of going into the political arena and public life, but I think the opportunities outweigh the negativity around it, and I'm really looking forward to it. I suppose it's something new, and it's something that I'm very attracted to, and I suppose I want to inspire a new generation within the Mayo constituency and attract youths within the actual grassroots, and that's something I'd definitely be putting forward.
First text in: how will Alan Dillon feel if he becomes Taoiseach and has to hand Sam Maguire over to Mayo captain? Well, hopefully, from everybody's point of view, it's probably a number of years before you have a chance of becoming Taoiseach. Yeah. So maybe from every Mayo person's point of view, we won't have to wait all that long. I want to chat to the lads as well about what's next, and we've some interesting contributions to come to as well, but we might just take a quick break.
Off the Ball on News Talk,
in association with the Air Sport app, allowing you to cast your favourite sporting action from your tablet or mobile phone straight to your TV.
Holiday World Show is on this weekend at the RDS with lots of hot deals exclusive to the show. Let's talk travel with Owen Corrie, holidays at home and worldwide, caravans, camping and motorhomes, dream cruises, honeymoon and wedding destinations. Holiday World Show, RDS Dublin, this Friday to Sunday.
Irish Water is coming to the end of the refunds process for household water charges. Cheques have been issued to account holders for the full amount paid. If you have a query or concern about the process, or if you have not received your cheque, please call us as soon as possible on 1850 448 448 or visit water.ie for more information.
Looking to reduce the headache of running your company fleet and free up cash? Let Avis Fleet Solutions create a customised leasing solution to really drive your business forward. Whatever the size of your business, we can provide both passenger and commercial vehicles that will keep your company moving, all for a fixed monthly fee. Speak to one of our experienced team members today. Avis Fleet Solutions, leasing solutions made simple. Visit avisfleetsolutions.ie.
This week at Centra, we have great offers across our stores, like Centra Fresh Irish Round Steak Mince, half price at €2.25. Centra Medium Free Range Egg 6-piece, buy one get one free. Nestle Multigrain Cheerios 800 gram now $2.75, and Eden Lodge Range half price at $7.99 each. Centra, live every day. Enjoy, call sensibly.
Our ginormous January sale at Curry's PC World is almost over.
Finished?
Well, nearly, but there's still up to €630 off Samsung, Sony, Panasonic and LG TVs.
Wow!
Yeah, and you can save up to €300 on large kitchen appliances. Oh, and American-style fridge freezers from an incredible $449.
Is that it?
No way! There's plenty more huge savings, like up to €330 on Windows laptops.
But when's it over?
Tuesday, so hurry, don't delay.
And what do you do again?
At Curry's PC World, we help you get it right.
It's time to choose your new Peugeot SUV. Will it be the stylish 2008? Or the new 3008, just crowned Irish Car of the Year 2018? Or the exciting new 5008 7-seater, now available to order? Each comes with Peugeot's unique iCockpit interior and is packed with comfort and safety features. Find out more during the Peugeot SUV Drive Time event at your local dealer. Never have SUVs gone so far. For details, see Peugeot.ie.
Whatever stage you're at in life, deciding to switch your mortgage can feel like making the move all over again. Well, it doesn't have to. Not with Ulster Bank's amazing low mortgage rates, which you can benefit from whether you're a new or existing customer. There's never been a better time to make the move to Ulster Bank, because amazing low mortgage rates really are help for what matters. Search Ulster Bank Amazing Rates and talk to us today about making the switch. Ulster Bank. Help for what matters. Maximum loan to value is 90%. Varies by buyer type. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Security and insurance required. Product fees may apply. Warning, if you do not keep up payments, you may lose your home. Warning, if you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Ulster Bank Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Paul, good to see you. Some game. Yeah. How have you been? Last time we spoke, you were feeling a bit down. You weren't yourself.
Yeah, I was under a lot of pressure in work. It was just weighing on me. And I was drinking too much as well. That didn't help. Feeling better now, though. Back running again and eased off on the pints.
Great to hear. Listen, if there's anything I can ever do, let me know.
Thanks, Brian.
If you struggle with anxiety, stress or depression, alcohol may make things worse. Find out how alcohol impacts your health at askaboutalcohol.ie from the HSE.
Creating a perfect holiday is just like creating anything. You start off with the basics, like, I want a beach holiday. Then you add a little more, a 4-star hotel. Then you add a few more flourishes. Near the beach, a local restaurant, flights to your favourite destination. And it's all been reviewed by people like you. And before you know it, you've made something really special. Book your perfect holiday. Search Travel Republic now. Travel Republic, yours for the making.
Off the ball.
In association with Air. Watch live Allianz League's GAA action this weekend on the Air Sport Pack with a Dublin hurling and football doubleheader at Croke Park.
This is News Talk.
You're very welcome back to our Saturday panel, joined by 3 former inter-county players: Brian Kavanagh, former Longford footballer; Emmet Bolton, former Kildare footballer; and Alan Dillon, former Mayo footballer. And I thought we were all impressed when Emmet said he was running a marathon after retiring, but Alan Dillon has just dropped the bombshell that he is running for election for Fine Gael. Well, hopefully, if he gets the nod at the local convention for the next general election. So I follow that now.
I know, yeah. But just as we were saying, there is a big vacuum on that, but just I decided to focus on golf because a lot of my friends play it, and I think I was better before I started than I am now, so it's going to be a long-term project.
So I want to talk about what is next, and we had the Kerry footballer Donncha Walsh speaking off the ball a few weekends ago. He outlined the impact that playing at inter-county level had on his life.
Because I've prioritised football so much in my all for the last 10 years, really, I suppose I put it ahead of everything. Like even the career I chose, I changed it because of football. Then afterwards, I was an engineer with CISC for a number of years, and about a year into that job, I got called into the Kerry senior panel, and I left it because I wasn't able to make training on time, or I knew getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning and driving an hour to site and being on site then till 6 o'clock and driving another hour to just land at training to just in time to just get my boots on and run out into the field. I knew that wasn't going to get me onto a Kerry senior.
What did you
panel.
go into?
So I became a physio. So I went back to college, completely left the engineering behind me. I said I kind of always was interested in physio, but at the time there was courses on in Dublin, and that wasn't the UCC that my father told me to go to. So I retrained as a physio. I kind of understood, that'll go hand in hand with my football career, and that was another decision that was solely a lot based on football.
Yeah, Donncha Walsh there talking about maybe the couple of career changes that he's had to sort of sustain his inter-county level, and you were all saying off air that boy has he been able to sustain it, that he's one of the most difficult players to man mark still.
Yeah, I marked him in the All-Ireland quarter-final a couple of years ago when they put 7 passes in the second half, and he just runs and runs and runs and runs, and a lot of the time he's looking for the ball and he's making long diagonal runs across the pitch, but other times he's just making unselfish runs for the likes of Jonathan Lyon or a wing back to come in, but he can move and he's a big man as well, so I think he's a physio, isn't he? So I think he obviously keeps himself an unbelievable nick as well, and I found it very hard to mark him that day.
We hear from a lot of retired inter-county players that they change career quite quickly after retirement, which is probably understandable in that you sort of get a life set up for yourself and everything is focused on being your best on the pitch. So if your job, maybe you're not 100% satisfied with it, but it gives you the time and the space to be the best you can be as an inter-county player, you sort of just put up with it. But then when it all finishes, you stop and you look at all aspects of your life and where you're now happy. Suddenly your job, rather than being one of those spinning plates, is probably the main one to go with your family. And is it actually as enjoyable? Is it what you really want to do? Did you have that? I know you threw yourself into the marathon. You're throwing yourself into the golf, Brian. Yeah. But did you have that with your life in general when you retired? As to, well, am I happy with all the other aspects?
Yeah, I went to St. Pat's College in Drumcondra, so a primary school teacher, and teaching is probably the most forgiving of occupations for the life of inter-county player, and you can see even by the St. Pat's hurling and football teams how strong they've got over the last few years. That more and more players are going back and doing their teaching as well, because you have the summers off, but again, you're finished at maybe 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so if you have to make that long journey home for training, it's
Jamie Barron, was it this week? Jamie Barron came out and said that he was studying to be a teacher because he felt he'd actually be able to extend his inter-county career by going down that route.
Yeah, and I suppose other players, you need very understandable bosses as well in order to get off work early on a Tuesday or Thursday or whatever it is, and often those players have to make up that time on their Wednesday and Fridays. They don't get off early as well, so it is a demanding schedule for certain professions.
Yeah, I know when in 2009 I went on a career break and I travelled the world. I went to Asia, Australia, New Zealand, and I suppose I enjoyed it because you had loads of free time. You could enjoy it. You could train as a professional. Came back then and went back to Inuit Galway and did the postgrad in education. So I went back to be a teacher because I wanted that summers off. Where you see a lot of inter-county players now, they've gone down the teaching route. So I suppose you see it more and more. A lot of players who go into the area of sports science, health science, and they, I suppose, dictate their life around being full-time athletes. And nowadays it's very hard to compete with them kind of guys. You see the performances of Andy Moran this year, and Andy is so dedicated to his craft and his profession, and the longevity of these people who actually do evolve themselves into sports conditioning and science. Their recovery, everything is actually dictated around their performance and preparation on the pitch. So it's getting more widespread throughout the game. If you agree.
It's the game is geared now towards teachers and guys going into sports science and students. I think if you have a job in construction, if you're on sites and that type of thing, it does make it harder. In my mid-20s I would have seen guys that were getting time off for training, and as Brian said, you're making up hours there during the week. So I just said to myself, look, I need to look at something here. When I do retire, be it at 30, 31, 32, 33, I want to have something in place here that I don't have to go looking for another job. My career isn't going to suffer. So
do you feel your career suffered?
No,
not at all.
No. I'm very lucky. I was working with a UK company selling into electrical wholesaler stocks and switches and that type of thing. But I was covering the 26 counties. So I changed that last year. So I work with Tegral now. So they used to sponsor Kildare. So I have a smaller area. I've a good pension, good package, and I'm not doing 1, 2 or 3 overnights a month and that type of thing, which helped in terms of getting back for training and that type of thing. But I was lucky enough that it's a very good company. The company before that was a good company as well. So I'm at a stage now in my career at 32 where my inter-county footballist career, it didn't impact on my career in my work career in any way, and now I can try and progress. There's plenty of avenues integral in terms of promotion and that type of thing, and that's another challenge that I'll be looking forward to as well.
I might play a clip of Jeremy Ling, who was on OTBAM a little bit earlier in the week, and he was talking about this whole work-life balance and about, I think it was the Lee Chin situation, where Lee Chin is one of those players who seems happy enough to take time away from work so he can focus full time on being an inter-county player.
On teaching, like the Lee Chin situation, I think is particularly worrying, because this is clearly an unbelievably gifted and intelligent guy who is actually missing out on a couple of years of his career here, where he could be developing a strand of his career and his future at the same time as he's developing his hurling skills.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is an interesting one for me, Ger, because I don't really value a career very highly, to be honest. And that's, that it probably goes against the grain a little bit. But I think, as you were saying, we don't value too much maybe career guidance in the country. I'm not I'm not so sure about that, but definitely there are people who are chained to desks doing jobs, letting their life force wear away, doing something they don't want to be doing. And certainly Lee Chin, who's out in the field or who's in a gym or who's looking after himself well, is in 10 times a better place than any of those people, to my mind. It's concerning in a way. I mean, 12 years ago, Tony Griffin did it for Clare and he won an All-Star. There are always people in elite sport who are going to take it to a different level, and there is always, and regardless of whether it's club, county or whatever it is, there's elite levels, and these guys are at elite levels. And Lee Chin, I mean, is undoubtedly, and has been since he was a young fella, really the elite level of what physical preparation and an awareness of what needed to be done to be an inter-county hurler. So I'm not surprised to see Lee going that little bit further. And I mean, it's also to be commended in one sense, because I think that to survive on less, obviously, Lee can do maybe a couple of days work here and there. I don't know, maybe he opens up something, or maybe he cuts a ribbon somewhere and he gets paid a few bob, and then he just can survive on less. And I think the idea of going after him more and more is a bit of a fallacy as well. What we're concerned about, I suppose, in the GAA, and why we're probably chatting about it more, is that are these conditions being created around the game where this is being facilitated more and more, where players and probably managers as well, and you're going to be talking to Derek, so you get an insight into that, but where the demands of the game are, this is just becoming more and more the norm, and we're not really, I don't feel we're at that point really yet in terms of players turning pro in their preparation, but in many other areas, I mean, we obviously are at that point. We're at the point of the threshold of break point. We seem to be around that, because the demands on players' lives and their personal lives, and the data backs this up. It's to say that there's a huge imbalance, and I suppose what Lee Chin is trying to do to address that imbalance is to take away something that we'd all kind of accept in the long run, and with a little bit more experience you look back and say, maybe Lee should maybe we should address a different one. Maybe a job is actually a little bit more important, because you do have to develop as a person.
Dermot Ling there talking on OTB AM a little bit earlier in the week. You can check out that full interview on offtheball.com. The Derek he was talking about was Derek McGrath, who has taken another year off teaching to focus fully on managing the Waterford hurlers. So Lee Chin has taken a year out at least to focus full time as hurling. Richie Hogan is doing something similar with teaching. Jamie Barron we just mentioned. There seem to be more and more examples of this, that we've gone from a stage of inter-county players maybe taking a week off before your next game to actually just trying to focus full time. And I'm sort of split on, and I think even maybe Gizzy's a little bit split on it there, as to whether this is a good thing or not. Like, if that's the route you want to go down, if you're happy with that, like, are we though pushing it too far, that really unless you are in a position to take the Monday off after every single game, to get out of training early, like, is there a role for that 9 to 5 Monday to Friday job for a 25-year-old inter-county player?
I think it is a tough one, all right. These guys will obviously set goals and set standards and things like that on the football pitch, but I think you need at 21, 22, 23, you need to set some sort of goal and some sort of plan for yourself going, over the course of your 20s and 30s in terms of a work and supporting yourself lifestyle as well. I mean, like, you finish playing your inter-county career at, it's obviously getting younger nowadays. You finish at 32, 33, and you've taken time off, you've not progressed in your career, you haven't probably done what you want to do. You're left standing there saying, what am I going to do now? I have a job that mightn't be as well paid as somebody in terms of the same age demographic that would have put a plan in place for myself.
Do you see that often? Obviously the three of you seem to be in a pretty happy place, but have you seen that with players you've played with?
Not really. For me, I haven't. Guys have, the majority of the guys in Clare at the minute, they are students or they're teachers or that type of thing, but they have a plan. They have a plan in place. Like, I have a mortgage, I have a wife, I have bills to pay, that I need a job to do that type of thing. But maybe when you're early 20s, you don't have those sort of restrictions, but you don't have them sort of obligations on you that you need to be doing those type of things. But look, I think, not that it's a bad call, but it's a worrying trend if it does start happening, that guys, when they do finish their inter-county career, they won't have a proper career when they're finished.
I'm sort of split on a lot of this, and you spoke there of going back teaching. Like, was teaching your passion? Was it something you dreamed of, or was it going out being an educator, or was it actually, this could prolong my inter-county career, this is the best thing for what is my dream, which is to play for Mayo?
I think it was a bit of both. It definitely would have, I suppose, prolonged my inter-county career, would have given me a window where you could be that full-time professional during the summer. And again, you know, I suppose I had my parents, my sister was into teaching and that kind of stuff, so I seen the benefits of her having the summer off, but it definitely wasn't a whole passion of me, you know. But you know, I see the other side of it. You know, we've a lot of lads from Mayo, and I seen a graphic there in the Irish Times about the geography of where intercounty players are actually working now, and you know, there's 18 or 19 players living in Dublin that actually have to commute every Tuesday and Friday, and you know, they must have really understanding bosses up there, and I can't understand, I suppose, the amount of trauma of getting back after training and trying to get your body right again. You know, they're definitely, their intercounty careers will be, you know, shortened by that amount of stress being put on their bodies, and you know, how much more can they do in the next couple of years? I suppose it's difficult in Mayo anyway, especially from where we are in the West.
What is that like in the group dynamic then, in terms of the team group, where you have guys that are obviously training down in Dublin on a Tuesday or whatever it is, so you have obviously small numbers then during the week? What is that like in terms of creating, like, we're lucky where we are situated in Kildare that everybody's able to make training because we're so close to Dublin, and nobody's really, like, the furthest you might have is Limerick with a guy in college or something like that. What's that like in the whole group where
it's very tough for the National League? And I know, you know, there was a comment this week, you know, Chrissy Barrett was talking to Billy Joe about it. You know, the reality is the National League is going to be very disjointed for Mayo, and you know, trying to get to 6 points is the ultimate and safe or make sure you maintain your Division 1 status. And because the simple reason is them lads can't be asked for that amount of commitment for 9 or 10 months of the year. They'll only get it maybe for the summer. And
so what are those lads based in Dublin doing at the moment?
Well, there's a few in PwC, there's a few lads
in terms of, so are they how many times a week are they down to Mayo?
I think at the minute, sometimes at the minute it's Midland sessions, so there's a bit of, you know, continuity around that, but I think maybe on other weeks then it'll be maybe a session on a Tuesday night in Dublin, out in Abbottstown, and you know, on a Friday night then in Mayo. So it's not ideal.
But that is the worrying trend, in that, like, if you've guys up here who are either in college, they're doing the right thing, or say if they're working for PwC and they've got a very good job, are they suffering then on their intercounty career? Because we spoke about this last week. I often think an important time for managers is probably after training, when you're all sitting around having the meal, where you get to properly sit down, have a relaxed conversation, get to know the players' characters. That actually those players who are based in Dublin, in terms of selection, in terms of progressing in their intercounty career, do you get a feeling that those guys are at a disadvantage to the home-based players?
Absolutely, and I think when James Horn took over back in 2011, he did look at that, you know, and tried to get as many students down west, you know, try to get them into the NUI Galways, Athlone, Sligos, in order to just to facilitate themselves, so that they'd have that, you know, happy medium between life and football. So it's
that is a problem. Again, going back to running for election, and part of what you're talking about is trying to keep young people in Mayo, and I think everyone agrees that's a good thing for every county. But by and large, inter-county players are successful people all around. They're well rounded. They're very, very driven. I think if you look at the successful Dublin underage teams, like these are smart guys. It's not just on the football pitch where they're fully focused, it's in all aspects of their life. So you want players to go and be the best they can be. Where is that middle ground then?
I know, like, if you were ever in the Spa Hotel on a Tuesday evening, the amount of cars there, just the who's who of county players from Mayo, Galway, Roscommon, Longford, Westmeath, Cavan, and it just shows you the quantity of players that are up here. And I just know, for example, like players who mightn't be as lucky to be sorted out with jobs in their own county, like accountants and people working for multinationals in Dublin, like Google and places like that, where they're rushing to get a 6 o'clock train leaving Connolly. They're arriving in Longford at, I think it comes in at 7:30, and you have to be on the pitch at 7:45. And when you're putting yourself under that time pressure, there's not much manoeuvre then for progression in your own company then, because you're just getting through week by week by week, and maybe other people are getting further up the ladder in terms of their careers, where their people are just focusing on the football instead.
When did you switch to Kilmacud?
2008.
I'm sure it wasn't an easy decision, but was it a decision that had to be made?
It wasn't an easy decision. I was just lucky to get a permanent job in Dublin, and I was looking down the road, and if you're spending 8 months of the year travelling 4 times up and down the N4 to Longford, if you include your club,
how How did that go down in Arda?
They were very, very positive towards it, and received a lot of support from people, you know, which was great, and I'll always be thankful for that. And a lot of them came up to support me when I joined Kilmacud in championship games as well. So it was good on that front. Yeah.
So you're all going back to the club now. Kieran Murphy had an interesting article that we've touched on a few times in the Irish Times a few months ago. It was around the Mayo County final, and did you play, was it the Tuesday, Wednesday before?
Yeah.
The county final against Castlebar Mitchell, and how there's almost a division within the club setup. There's probably even now, there's 20-25 clubs throughout the entire country that can dream of winning an All-Ireland, but there's a whole lot more who can dream of winning a club, and Castlebar are one of those clubs who can dream of winning an All-Ireland, whereas Ballintubber, you might want to say it, but like winning a county title for Ballintubber is this incredible achievement. And just the way these club players have been treated, that you're out playing Tuesday night, you're out playing a county final, which for Ballintubber is it's the biggest day in the club's history. And how do you're probably going to have a different focus on it now in terms of frustration levels? Yeah,
absolutely. Like even last year was very frustrating. It was back-to-back weeks for 4 weeks in a row, and you couldn't enjoy your wins, you know. And I suppose that's the most important thing about the club, is involving the community, involving the players, getting to know them, celebrating together. But we were doing pool sessions first thing on the morning after the game, you know, and I suppose it's gone to a completely different level now with regards fixtures and scheduling, and I hope to God, you know, there's a bit of common sense that will prevail over the next number of months and years, and that they do, I suppose, get a master fixture list together, and it just will provide some sort of opportunity for a club player to actually get involved, because we're losing club players, you know, every year because of the constraints around the season, and it's definitely something that, you know, down the road that I will be very strong and to support.
Yeah, I definitely feel this is going to be a bad year for the club player, that actually there's only really, and only for us now in the media even, starting to look at the number of weeks and the number of games and how little of a break there is aside from April, that it is week in, week out. It's hard to see, especially if intercounty managers won't release players in April, where the club player is going to get a look in.
It's tough, and like Alan made the point when we were outside that the Mayo fixture list, and it's the same in Kildare, it hasn't come out yet, but the first round of the championship is in April, and then the next round is when? September. It's like, where in the world do you get somewhere that you're playing probably the most important competition in your club, and there's a 6 to 7 week month wait until the next round? Do you know, you obviously have your 13-14 games in the league, and that keeps you occupied, but you could have a 3-4 month period there where you're doing nothing, basically just training for a game in 3 or 4 months. You know, you're trying to look for challenge games off other teams, and other teams won't play it because you might get them in the championship and that type of thing. It's very, very, very frustrating for a club player. You can't book holidays, you can't do anything like that, because, you know, obviously it's different with Mayo, and it's the same with Longford and Kildare. You don't really know when Kildare or Longford are going to be out of the championship. You know, some people would speculate that it'll be early, it could be first week in August or whatever it is. So, you know, people are trying to book things away, trying to book holidays and that type of thing, and it's tough for guys because they don't know when to do it.
And there are players from successful counties, like really good club players, who could go their entire career without playing a championship game in June, July and August. Like when the hot evenings in the summertime, or 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, it's a huge pity and something that has to be looked at.
And I suppose the other element is, you know, you cannot, you know, I suppose, keep your students at home for them periods of months that want to actually go on a J1 to, you know, and for them then to get integrated back into the club setup, it's very difficult as well. So you never get any, I suppose, bit of, I suppose, continuity going into a championship game then post your April to September. And I
was going to ask you about that, so we spend so much time talking about inter-county players and the difficulties of getting to training sessions. So in Ballintubber you'd have Cillian O'Connor and Jeremy O'Connor, both of whom I think are living in Dublin. Like, we're talking about them getting down for inter-county training sessions. Like, they must never get down for a club training session.
And listen, the managers probably would trust them to be, you know, as diligent.
But you know they're going to be fine. But if you're thinking about winning the county title, like, these guys and yourself are the main focus of the team. You'd like to have a bloody plan where you can get the best out of them.
And that's the challenges, and I don't see any quick solution. Definitely, you know, over the next couple of months. So hopefully they'll come to some consensus on it.
Reading former players, the Henry Shefflin, Tomás O'Shea talking about going back to the club setup, and suddenly like their conversations are all about the hard life of the club player, and just exactly what you're talking about, these long gaps, stuff that they hadn't maybe really noticed when they were inter-county players. But also the other part of it, which is you no longer have that elite environment where you're going to have 30 lads at a training session all going hammer and tongs, where, let's be honest, in February, when you don't know when your next championship game is in the league, there might be 16 lads. Is that something that takes adjusting to?
Yeah, I think so. And from speaking to guys that have retired over the last couple of years, I think a few of them have said that, look, it probably took me 2 years to realise that I'm going back to training here. I've been used to holding such standards, inter-county standards in terms of everything that goes along with it. And there's guys strolling into training at 29 minutes past 7. We have a young guy that drives the car down with the football boots on, drives down at 29 minutes past 7 out onto the pitch, and he's gone again. So you just gotta probably come to terms with standards aren't going to be to the level that you expect them to be, or that you've used them to be, because at the end of the day it's an amateur sport and it's a hobby as well, so but look, to be fair to my club at home, we've good guys there that we're in the senior championship in Division 3, so I think the big emphasis for us this year is to get promoted out of Division 3, and that's a massive deal for us. And we've been back training since before Christmas, and guys are mad to go, but we'll see how that goes over the course of the next 5 or 6 months when you're waiting for games to go. But it's something that we've spoken aside. We're all really looking forward to going back with the club.
It's different for you, Brian. You're Kilmacud, which is a bigger club than most counties.
I know, and we have trial games for the senior panel, which is totally alien to so many club players. Like, we were doing yo-yo tests this morning at 9 a.m. and there was 30 plus players there. And it's different, and it's the sheer volume. And I know you can open up in a totally different conversation about, are there an adequate amount of clubs in Dublin to meet the needs of people, but it's just a huge volume of numbers, and for them to be managed properly.
Yeah, we barely touched on the fact that it is the opening weekend of the league. The sense you're given of Mayo is 6 points. Like we see, it seems we're past this stage of maybe 5-6 years ago, as Mayo need to win a league title, they need to win a national title. Like, been down to Mayo over the last few weeks, it's funny, it's probably at odds with every other county where they want their star players out. At Mayo, it's we don't want to see them during the league. Is it just get to 6 points, get survival?
I think so, yeah. I think they'll target specific games. It'd be great to get off to a good start the weekend for them. I suppose Monaghan in Clones is always a difficult assignment, but hopefully they'll integrate some of the young fellas, give them more experience, hopefully build on it throughout the season, and come championship time they'll have a really strong unit for the summer.
What would you have been looking at fellow players over the last few years during the league that would suggest they'd be good enough when it came to championship? Are there things that can happen during games, that indicators?
Yeah, I suppose their adaptability, to setbacks, how they actually take that leadership role where we need someone to kick a score in a vital time of a game. And I suppose that's the way you actually gain experience. And league football nowadays, it's gone up a notch or two in pre-championship. And I know if you get a good run in the league, it's a great stepping stone for championship. And the more exposure you get to that environment, the better you can adapt, on them white heat of championship. So looking forward to it. There's a good bunch of lads that were minors in 2013, the under 21s of 2016. So hopefully we can get them with more experience, and the senior lads building around them.
Emmet, Dublin at Croke Park, first up for Kildare. Definitely, I'd say you're glad you've stepped away for this one.
Yeah, I know it's going to be very, very tough for them tonight. I think they.
What do you do? What should Cian O'Neill do tonight? Is this actually the best opportunity Kildare will get all year to go and beat Dublin?
I think so. They're obviously back training maybe 3 or 4 weeks from their holidays. I just hope Cian O'Neill has gone away over the course of the off season with his management team and said, we need something in terms of a game plan, a structure, something to beat Dublin. And I think if he has gone away and come up with something like that, it's good enough to beat the Mayos and the Kerrys, and with a bit of adapting. But I really do think they're going to struggle tonight. They had poor form in the O'Byrne Cup against Longford and against Louth. I think they played a couple of challenge matches that they've won just about. But I think as far as I know, they've a couple of injuries and that type of thing as well. But I just, if they got Dublin in Newbridge on the 27th of January, I would be, you'd be up optimistic, but I think up in Croke Park, big wide pitch, hard ground, I just think they're going to struggle. But look, to be fair to them, they've shown fantastic consistency over the last 2 years to get from Division 3 to Division 2 to Division 1. Played some really good football. Have 4 league games at home this year. Newbridge does suit us against that type of opposition in terms of it's tight and that type of thing. You have to go away to Dublin, away to Kerry and away to Donegal, which are going to be really, really tough games. Are we going to win Division 1? We're not. But the most important thing, I think, for the group as a whole in terms of consistency and the upward graph is to compete in Division 1 and to stay there, because we're not used to playing these teams. We're used to playing the likes of Meath and Laois and teams that aren't in Division 1. So, and then generally when it comes to big games, we do struggle. So, the younger guys there, they're going to be playing these guys week in, week out. You can set a marker down tonight because you might be playing Dublin in the Leicester final. So look, it's exciting to see how they are.
It's hard for Cian O'Neill in
it is.
What you're talking about there. Maybe he has come up with what he thinks is a game plan to go and take down the Dubs. It backfires. You end up losing by 15 points tonight, and suddenly the entire league campaign is shrouded in negativity, even with the 4 home games.
Terrible game to start off. An absolutely terrible game to start off, because you're at a hiding to nothing if you go out and try and match them 1-on-1 in terms of athleticism and score taking and that type of thing, or hiding to nothing if you go too defensive and you get a scutcheon as well. So I just think hopefully that we'll see how they go tonight, but I just hope mentally it doesn't affect them too much if there is something at play. Like the handicap is -5. I think it could be that at half time, but we'll see how they go. It's a positive year for Kildare. I'm looking forward to it.
Doesn't sound like it. I think it's too late for that. Brian, Longford, what, Division 3? They're playing Offaly tomorrow?
Division 3, Offaly, our friendly foe. We've come across each other the last few years a lot. But I'd love for Longford to get push for promotion up to Division 2. We were there a few years ago. Last year we'd only 3 games at home. It's so tight in Division 3 that the extra game at home could make all the difference. You've your Armagh's probably favourites to go up, but there could be a pick of anybody after that. And
Wexford, Sligo, there's not a huge amount.
Not a huge, and it's all about momentum. If you go now to Tullamore and get 2 points on the board, then you're at home the next week against Derry, and you can get the ball rolling from there. And they had a good O'Byrne Cup. They lost the first shootout of the season against Meath in the O'Byrne Cup final, so they blooded a few good players, and the Mullinachta boys to come back.
Why can't Longford players kick 45s?
I don't know.
What is it about you?
Not too many Meath lads kick them either now, but I think it was 2-1. But it's a lot to ask a player after playing a full game and extra time to step up and kick it over,
All right, lads, thanks a lot for coming in today. Lots to look forward to, and very best of luck with the club seasons as well. Brian Kavanagh, Emmet Bolton, Alan Dillon with us. We have plenty more Gaelic games to come. We're going to be at Croke Park from about 4:30 on with Dave and Oisin. They're going to be with Brian Hogan and Billy Joe Padden. But up next, we're going to be looking ahead to the hurling. We'll be joined by the former Cork hurling manager Kieran Kingston.
Off the Ball on News Talk
in association with AIR. Don't miss live Allianz League's GAA action this month on the AIR Sport Pack, the home of Irish sport.